Am I the asshole for saying no to being a bridesmaid to one of my best friend's wedding? Let me start with some backstory. About 5 years ago, my 26 female husband, 26 male best friend met a girl online and they started dating. Shortly after, he introduced us to her. They came over and stayed with us for some time as we live in different states, and her and I instantly clicked as friends. It wasn't long before we became super close. She often came to me for relationship advice as I was already married at the time and I loved helping out when I can. We often talked about life, journaled together, made goals together, and always were there for each other. We shared so much with each other and we constantly spoke about her and her partner getting married. We would travel to each other every now and again and would always be an amazing time. Not even a year in, and I considered her one of my best friends. About 3 years into their relationship, she fell pregnant and it came with a lot of hardships as neither of them wanted a child. The relationship faced some major hurdles and my husband and I were there for them through it all. We threw them a gender reveal party. I did all of the planning, prepping, purchasing, and helped pay for some, on top of being a gender holder, and my husband just chipped in some money and helped with last minute decorations. In her words, it was absolutely perfect. We were gifted the title of godparents to their child, which was an honor to me as this is not a title I take lightly. Fast forward a couple of months ago, my husband's friend, we'll call him Jerry, called us and informed us that he had bought a ring and had planned a beautiful proposal. I cried tears of joy when I found out, as I knew this was something she has been wanting for a long time. When they got engaged, she FaceTimed me a couple of hours later to show me the ring, and I was so overjoyed for her. It was only a couple of weeks later that she started planning and prepping for the wedding. This included buying her wedding dress. I was shocked when she sent me pics later that night, showing me the dress and the crew she had with her. I would have thought she would have told me, as she knew I would have made the effort to go, despite being in a different state, or would have joined in a FaceTime call if I couldn't make it. I constantly heard Jerry and my husband talking about him being the best man and other things related to the wedding. I felt in the dark about most things, including if I was a bridesmaid or not, because I wanted to start dress shopping and didn't know if I had to pick out a certain color. I texted the bride and nonchalantly asked a question about her bridesmaid and what color dress they were wearing. Her response was, "They are wearing pink." This told me what I needed to know and I proceeded accordingly. It hurt my feelings that I was not someone she felt important enough in her life to stand behind her on her big day, as she would without a doubt been behind me had I married before meeting her. I took it pretty hard and cut off most contact with her without making it completely obvious. Seeing her bachelorette party pics online and thinking about how I thought I was going to be part of it truly hurt. I still didn't say anything as I would not have wanted anything to ruin something she had been dreaming about for so long. Fast forward to 3 weeks before the wedding, she texts me and tells me that it had been very heavy on her heart because of all I had done for her, Jerry and their son, and asked me to be a bridesmaid. Turns out, Jerry had added another groomsman who was also under the impression that he was going to be in the wedding party and unlike me, spoke up about it. So the numbers were now uneven and that's why I asked. I politely declined and told her to find someone else to even out their numbers. I also let her know how it hurt me, but at least now I know where we stand. This resulted in a 30-minute call where she was crying and kept apologizing. Although I forgive her, my position remained the same and I did not agree to being in the wedding party. To me, being in the wedding party is more than just standing behind someone at the actual wedding. It's about helping them and being there every step of the way, which was already too late for me to do. The wedding came and went and everything was great. I did not once show any hostility towards her, nor treated her any different. Many people in both of their families asked me why I was not a bridesmaid, and I can't lie. It hurt to just smile and try to laugh the question away. It is something that bothers me to this day, but sometimes I think I may have been the asshole. So, was I the asshole in the situation? Thank you so much for reading and sharing my story. I look forward to seeing what people say and doing some self-reflection if need to be. Give me a second. Can I just say, as soon as you said when she asked you 3 weeks before the wedding, I knew it was like a filler placement. I don't understand how you can have someone be, what is it called? Shoot, I'm blanking out. When they watch your kid. Godparent. How you can have the person where if you pass away, they are going to take your child, that person not be part of your wedding process, let alone a bridesmaid or maid of honor. Like for me, that's my sister. In situations like, duh, that's my ride or die. Someone who's gonna watch over my child. You are 1,000. I don't think you did anything wrong here. You are not the asshole at all. You were put in a tough situation. And I think you handled it with grace 1000%, because I feel like a lot of people would have been bitter in that situation. And it just shows to your character that you're a good person and a good friend, because a lot of people would have just, kind of, said things here and there that could have been mean. Or like, oh yeah, she didn't invite me, that biatch, or things like that. But because you loved her so much and held her near and dear to your heart, you wanted to, cover for her and be like, yeah, it's okay, like nothing. And I would feel so hurt. You've supported her during like major life moments, including her pregnancy, her gender reveal, and like relationship struggles. I mean, you You're her godmother, for God's sakes, which shows how much you value the relationship. I mean, and when it came just to her wedding itself, you have every right to feel hurt, and all the love and support you've shown her. Being left out of such a significant part of her life must have been like incredibly painful. It's not about just being a bridesmaid. It was about not feeling valued in the way you thought your friendship deserved. When she did finally ask you, it clearly wasn't from good heart because of a logistical issue. I wouldn't have said yes either. It's understandable that you would turn down an invitation that felt like an afterthought. And I think you did the mature thing by expressing how you felt without causing any drama or ruining her big day. Weddings are emotional and personal, but that doesn't mean you have to put your own feelings aside when it comes to being treated as a friend, you know? It wasn't about the number of groomsmen or bridesmaid. It was about you realizing where you stood in her life. And it's valid to feel hurt by that. I think that out of everything is the most suckiest thing. It's like when you hold someone so close to you and you realize in their eyes you don't hold that same spot, I think that's what really hurts. Because from what I can tell, like you would have, at a drop of a hat, you would have been there for her. But now you know, right? Of course it sucks, it hurts, that she wouldn't do the same for you. But ultimately, you handled it with kindness and you communicated your feelings openly. You didn't cause a scene. You didn't hold a grudge, which is way more than most people would do, myself included. I would honestly, I'm mean. I wouldn't even go. That's how I am sometimes. It's bad. Don't learn from me. But I would be like, or I would just gone, shown face and like kept my distance, to save the relationship. It's okay if the situation still bothers you. It's a significant emotional moment. It's not just like a birthday party. It's her wedding. But at the end of the day, you weren't wrong for prioritizing your feelings and setting boundaries when you felt hurt. You were a great friend throughout her journey, and it's only natural to expect that level of respect in return, and you didn't get it. Yeah. My wife left me because I was racist to her, and I can't get her to come back. Can I recover from my mistake? Ooh, I don't know. Let's see how racist this is, okay? Not that any sort of racism is okay, but I gotta hear it in the context. I sincerely feel our problem started on Reddit, so I feel it's only right to come back here to see if you can help me solve the mess we made. So a few years ago, my wife came to Reddit for advice navigating a culture clash. You can read her original post here. Do I have to read her original post? Shoot, I do, huh? Okay, I can't even find the original one. I tried. In retrospect, the responses she got were awful, rude, and many racist. My wife is from Zimbabwe. I'm Swiss, and we met while at university in my country. I fell for her instantly. Truthfully, I've never seen anyone so beautiful. She was kind, so incredibly intelligent, and has this gravitational pull to her. We started off as friends, but we eventually began dating and got into a steady relationship. I wanted to marry straight away, but she had career ambitions she wanted to meet before she married. At the time of the Reddit post, I was going through some stuff. I knew the expectation of Roora, R-O-O-R-A, was on anyone who would marry her, and I had been saving for that alongside her engagement ring for years. Okay, I think that's like a cultural thing. Let me check it out. Roora is a Shona word that refers to the bride price or bride wealth paid in Southern African marriage ceremonies. Okay, kind of like a dowry. Okay, so he has to pay this on top of the wedding stuff. Okay. I was going through some stuff. In truth, I knew the expectation of Roora was on anyone who would marry her, and I had been saving for that alongside with her engagement ring for years. I had gotten into a fight with my brother before she asked me about setting a date for her Roora, where he said many nasty things about me being with a black woman and how I was losing myself and my cultural identity due to the concessions I made to be with my wife. It's why I reacted the way I did when she asked me about it, something I deeply regret to this day. After the show that was that post, we spent 3 months in couples counseling. She repeatedly told me that she didn't want to force me to do anything I didn't want to do. She said that she deserved to be with someone who enthusiastically embraced all parts of her, and if any part of me took issue with her culture, she asked that I bow out before I tied us together for life. I confessed that I knew all along about the Roora and I had prepared for it, but the conversations with my brother are what led me to say what I did. She was mad. I had allowed her to be mocked, ridiculed, and bullied by strangers online because I couldn't communicate with her, but we worked through. We had a beautiful traditional wedding in her country, then another one with my traditions in mind. Her family was kind and welcoming, making many concessions for me as they had done since I met them. We planned on starting a family soon after we married, but she'd always said that she wanted to have her babies back in her country so she can have her family around her. We had agreed that this is what we do. It's important to know that my wife doesn't really like living here. She says she hates living here. We lived in Sweden for much of our relationship, and many will know that people are on the cold side. She hated the food, the weather, struggled with the cold people. Her country's people are very warm and friendly, and for the last 2 years, she had to go on antidepressants because it was all a bit much for her. She asked me when we were going to move, and I asked for us to hang for a while so I could finish the project I'm leading at work. We'd fought about this in the past, but this time she just nodded at me, so I thought she finally got it. That was over 18 months ago, and we didn't end up moving as I got promoted and it became harder to walk away. Her grandma passed away, so I attributed the low mood to that. Our problems came when she asked me if I was having an affair with my colleague. This is when I got home late one evening and found her sitting in the dark. I'd forgotten she was making dinner for us, to be honest. I had a lot going on at work and it just slipped my mind. I told her that colleague and I were working late and I forgot. Sorry. She grew confrontational and told me I was spending a lot of time with my colleague lately and she noticed her name on my phone more than a few times. She asked me if there was anything she ought to know. This is when I may have killed my marriage. I told her I didn't give her father a truck full of cattle for her to question me. No, you didn't. 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 This was my house, my wife, and if I wanted to have something on the side, that was nobody's business but mine. She looked like I'd slapped her and I could see her holding back tears. I don't know why I didn't drop to my knees and beg for forgiveness. Instead, doubled down and told her to stop the theatrics. Here's the thing. I'm not having an affair of any kind with my colleague. We're really just heavily into this project we're both super excited about. I don't know why I just couldn't say that to my wife. She didn't come to bed that night, and I left early in the morning, the day after she came home when she was asleep. This continued for days where I avoided her because I couldn't face the guilt. On a Friday, I came home to a gift box that contained a positive pregnancy test and a long letter from my wife. I won't share all of it, but she said she was going to tell me on the night I bailed on dinner that I had hurt her beyond measure with what I said to her and that she was no longer going to show her love for me through self-sacrifice. Oh my God, this made it even 100 times worse than it already was and is pretty bad. She told me she doesn't consent to be in a polygamous relationship, and since it's what I want, I should expect to receive divorce papers from her soon. She left her rings and house keys too. I had a panic attack. I was able to call for help before the worst of it came, but I spiraled. I had momentarily f***ed up and lost my wife and unborn child because of it. I tried to call her, but her phone was going straight to voicemail. I called her brother, who was short with me, but assured me she was fine. He wouldn't tell me more. I finally tracked her down after 2 weeks. She'd gone back to her parents in Zimbabwe. I can't follow her just yet because the project I've worked on for so long is near completion and I can't walk away. My friends told me I was racist to my wife and my actions because I never would have tried that with a white woman and tried to use her culture against her. The fact that I wasn't even serious made me more cruel apparently. She still won't speak to me. I've tried all avenues and she won't hear me out. I left her beyond measure and I don't know how to get her back. Please help me. So he does have a small edit, so I'll read that first before I berate this man. Okay, a lot of you think I'm awful. It's hard to reach, but oh well. I've taken your advice on board and I'm going to follow her. I have booked a flight to Zimbabwe. I leave in 10 days. I'm going to go apologize and try to make her understand. No one seems to be thinking of the child she's carrying, my child, when they say I should leave her alone. I won't do that. It's sad that I've missed out on the joy of finding out we're finally having a baby we've so wanted, but I'm going to go and fix this so I can get my wife back and our family on track. Your wife didn't leave you because you're a racist, even though you were. Your wife left you because you were a neglectful workaholic that told her you could sleep with whoever you wanted. Mocking her culture was simply a cherry on top. Imagine. See, I'm bad. If someone said I didn't pay your father, especially in cattle, to question me, I would have been swinging. As bad as that is. Okay, you guys, I found the wife's first post, okay? And it's, am I the asshole for asking my fiance to pay a bride price? My fiance, 32 male, is white, European man. I, 31 female, am a black African woman. We've been dating for 7 years. I came to his country to study and have lived and worked here since. Ever since we started dating, he took such an interest in my culture, asked me to teach him my language, culture, and we've even been to visit a few times. He asked me to marry him last year and I accepted. We were planning our wedding. I mentioned we need to account for my family back home. We could have the traditional wedding in my home country and then the white wedding in his, since we don't want to ask anyone to fly out or get visas, etc. The issue came when I mentioned a bride price needing to be paid, something he scoffed at. To call it a bride price is misleading because there is so much more to it than the money that changes hands. It's our time-honored tradition that blends two families into one, and it's always something I wanted to do when you got married. I mentioned he knew of marriage customs in my country and that they included a bride price. We both work in law and human rights type of field, so he assumed I would be against the bride price. I told him I am against it being a forced and money-making thing, but I'm asking that he does it because I chose it and I want to honor my parents and culture. He refused, saying it was backwards and exonerate, and it would be like he bought me. I assured him it wasn't the case. My parents would charge a symbolic amount, nothing crazy, just to symbolize us getting together. I said if my parents were to sell me, he couldn't afford me. This set him off in a rage because I somehow insulted him by saying that. when what I meant is that my parents aren't looking to make money off me, but this is something my people have done for a millennia and I don't want to break from tradition. I said I don't know if I'm willing to go ahead and marry him if he isn't willing to make the trip to my country and talk to my parents about the lobola process. I hope I said that right. Lobola? It's Lobola. Lobola. He says I'm forcing and manipulating him. I'm not. He knew from day one who I was and where I came from. This is what my people do, and I feel for him to label it backwards as Eurocentric because he's viewing it from his lens, despite me having explained what it is actually about. Okay. These comments are wild, though. So, yeah, I get that because white people don't do this. European people don't do this, right? Most other countries, we have, it's not, bride price just sounds so bad. You're not literally saying, hey, give me this money for a bride. It's just like a symbolic thing. Like, okay, you need to prove it's for us, especially in like Afghan culture, it's like to prove that you can take care of her financially, whether it be cattle or a money set amount. And usually that, like for us, like the money that you give goes back to the bride, as in like you'll give the bride money, like, okay, here's the $5,000, but the family will go and buy things for the new house that you guys are going to move into, like ironing boards and like clothes and like sofas and things like that. It goes back into your marriage. So it's just like I get that, but these comments are ruthless. I can see it. You guys can go ahead and look at it. I'll give you guys the title again. So it's, am I the asshole for asking my fiance to pay a bride price? But man, now I see what happened. I get it. Oh my God, this sucks.